Have you ever thought about how you agreed to something you didn't want at first? You asked yourself why some talks make you feel like you're in a fog and questioning your own thoughts, that you're being gently influenced without even realizing it. In this world where everything is linked, we're constantly being manipulated, talking to different people, each of whom has their own goals and ways of doing things. Most of the time, these interactions are bad or even helpful. But what happens when others, their goals turn bad, and the ways they do things become sneaky? Today, we're going to look into. You can learn a lot about the tricky and often secret world of manipulation in this film. Plain English, it's a discovery and a journey to understand the 10 most subtle and strong ways to trick people, and most importantly, how to protect yourself, you against them. Why is this information so important? Because we live in a time when people around us aren't the only ones who can trick us. When it comes to bigger, more pervasive structures like media and social networks, knowing these methods isn't enough. It's not just a way to protect yourself. It's also a step toward more freedom. I'll show you how to get personal freedom today as I lead you through this maze. To spot and stop these tricks, from emotional blackmail to gaslighting that makes you doubt your reality, manipulation that plays with your inner emotions. Let's figure it out together. These strategies will give you the tools you need to keep your power and make choices that truly show your wants and needs. If you are new, come with me on this journey of discovery and freedom. That's it for now. Please like the movie and subscribe to the channel. This video has been watched by 33% of my viewers, so if this video helped you in any way, please subscribe and click the bell icon. The first type of emotional manipulation is, emotional manipulation is like an unseen game of chess where the pieces are your feelings and the board is your mind. Picture yourself walking through a magical forest where each tree stands for a different feeling. Happiness, fear. It's possible for someone to shake any of these trees and throw you off balance. First, it's important to know that manipulating emotions isn't always a bad thing. Often, it's hidden as worry, affection, or even a loaded silence. A charmer is like a skilled magician who knows how to steer your attention away from what they're really after. The process starts with small words or actions that don't seem dangerous. Slowly engulf you in a web of fears and doubts. One common method is the use of guilt. Imagine that a friend asks you to do something that makes you feel bad. Being careless when they say no, they react with a sigh of disappointment and a look that more than words can say. "I thought we were friends," they say. Suddenly, you start to doubt your choice and feel bad about putting your own needs ahead of those of another person. Fear of being insinuated upon without means is a subtle form of emotional influence. They are telling you straight out that something bad might happen if you don't do what they say or follow their advice. Being in a dark place where the only light comes from the person who is controlling you and pulling you in their direction, so how can you fight back against these strategies? Being self-aware is the first step. Take the time to learn about your feelings in order to understand what makes you happy, sad, angry, or scared. Can you name every plant in the garden? In their garden, you need to know every feeling that comes up inside you. This will help you figure out when the second step is to make sure they know someone is trying to play with them. Setting limits doesn't mean building a wall around yourself that no one can get through, but instead, having doors that you can open and close will help you learn to say no. Second, feel bad about being sorry, and know that you can't always make everyone happy. To keep your relationships in check. A good relationship is like a dance, where everyone moves at the same speed and treats each other with respect. If you feel like you're dancing all the time, singing someone else's tune, it's time to rethink that relationship for good. It's not always easy to talk to someone who is mentally manipulating you, but sometimes it's worth it. A simple, "I feel that," or "I don't agree with that" can be enough to emotional influence is a dark art that can change the way things work. You can learn how to protect your feelings by being aware, setting clear limits, finding balance, and talking to other people. Remember that you are the king or queen of your own live chessboard. Form number 2. Be careful of logical errors and listen to reasons that make sense at first glance, but are based on mistakes like personal attacks or, in the world of argumentation, logical errors are like mirages in the desert. They look like they can lead you to a better place. As you get closer, they disappear, leaving only confusion. A deceitful along logical fallacy happens when the case given doesn't have a strong foundation. Foundation, even if it seems fair or convincing at first glance, to get through the maze of daily conversation and keep yourself safe, it's important to know these fallacies. In order to avoid being tricked, a common type of error is the personal attack, which is called ad equo in Latin. Homonym. This happens when you don't answer someone's point, you use a different word. If someone's character or personal traits are attacked, pretend you're in a debate. When someone disagrees with you about politics and doesn't answer your points, they start criticizing your schooling or past. If someone didn't want to play fair and threw sand in your eyes, another common fallacy is that it will blind you and take your attention off of the real problem. The hasty generalization. In this case, a small group or a person's own experience is used, and when applied to a whole group, it's like when you see one bird fly south, you can't just assume that all birds fly south. That would be a lie, and biases, and it's easy for injustice to happen. There's also the slippery slope myth, which says that a small first step will always lead to bigger ones. It's like saying that if you let your kids stay up late one night, they will do bad things the next night, inevitably turn into a chronic insomniac. This argument is based on the people often exaggerate the effects of possible future events out of fear for them to protect. To protect yourself from these false beliefs, the first thing you should do is learn about them. It's helpful to know their shapes and how they talk, because it's like having a plan in this mirage desert. When you hear an argument, ask yourself if it gets to the point and is backed up by good proof. Don't make assumptions. Also, learning how to think critically is important. Don't believe everything you hear. Instead, ask questions, think about them, and look for proof. Think of the arguments as clues that will help you find the truth. Don't let appearances finally learn to spot these errors and stay away from using them in your. If you stick to facts and logic in your talks and discussions, you'll help make the world a more honest place. To put it simply, being aware of logical errors is like having a compass in a sea of ideas that are hard to understand and often lie to you. The road of reason and truth will keep you from being swayed by arguments that, even though they look like gold, they are as sturdy as air from the Per-3 gaslighting detectors can tell when someone is trying to trick you. Gaslighting, also known as psychological manipulation, is a sneaky way to make you question your reality or view. The most sneaky way to control someone's emotions. It's like a mental game where the manipulator tries to make the victim question their memory, perception, or sanity. It's like someone is trying to plant doubts in their head. They move your furniture around slowly and then say, "Nothing has changed," which makes you wonder your reality. This strategy can look different, but one of the most popular is denial, in which the liar just won't accept the truth or says your experiences aren't real. It's like saying you saw a killing. And someone tells you to only imagine seeing it, even though you were there. 100% sure of what you saw is another type of gaslighting called the distortion of the manipulator may change the facts to make you question your memories for. For instance, if you remember a talk where you both agreed on something, the manipulator might make you do it again. There are so many mirrors that it's like being in a maze where each one shows a different truth. Gaslighting can also show up through reflection, which changes reality even more. When your thoughts and feelings are put down or made fun of, this is called trivialization. It feels like being told you're making a big deal out of nothing. If it bothers or hurts you to spot and stop gaslighting, it's, if something doesn't feel right, follow your gut and your memories. Yes, it probably isn't. Write down what happened, what was said, and how you felt. This can be a book or notes on your phone that keep a record of facts. Can also help you confirm your experience and remember the exact details. Ask for help from family or friends you can trust, and talk to someone often. Seeing things from the outside can help you see things more clearly, and confirm you're taking care of yourself and affirming your own worth are also important ways to boost your self-esteem. That you have the right to your feelings, thoughts, and memories. Regularly meditating or seeing a doctor can really help you For your mental health, gaslighting is a type of emotional abuse that can make you feel bad. If you doubt your world, you should know how it manifests and grows. To protect yourself from this damaging technique, it's important to learn how to trust your own judgment. Remember, the truth is real and should be honored and heard. This is the fourth awareness of group pressure. Figure out when someone is using peer or group pressure to get you to do something. When it comes to making choices or holding views, group pressure is strong and can show up in ways, big or small, that have a big effect on our choices and views. A lot of the time, it feels like we're traveling on rough water where the waves of public opinion could carry us away. We don't always want to go in this direction of social influence. Lies in our natural desire to fit in and be liked by a group. It could be as easy as dressing a certain way to fit in, or as hard as switching to change their thoughts or actions so they match the group's. It's like they don't want to be seen as, like the black sheep, we follow the group even if it takes us in a bad direction. That's not ours. It's important to stay aware and fight peer pressure. Knowing who you are and what you value is like having a base when you're trying to build strong self-esteem and confidence. It keeps you steady in that rough sea, even when the waves try to pull you away. Another thing you can do is learn to tell when you're being affected. Sometimes group pressure is clear, like when someone tells you straight out to do something else. Sometimes it's less obvious, like when everyone in your group of friends takes some kind of belief or way of life, and you feel like you have to share it. When everyone in a room talks in the same tone, you feel like you have to change the tone of your voice to fit in. It's also important to learn how to say no when setting up, and setting limits is very important. You don't have to be rude or angry, but you can stay true to yourself if you make choices that are firm and clear. Picture yourself as a tree with deep roots. Your roots hold you down even when the wind blows hard. Also, look for protection. Group that respects your individuality and surrounds you with people who value different points of view and back up the choices you make is like finding a safe place where you don't worry about what other people will think or feel. Just be yourself. Make choices based on your own morals and ideals, not on what other people want you to do. Being liked by other people. Sometimes this means taking the road less traveled, but it's being aware of group is important for having a real and fulfilling life. Learning how to deal with pressure is important if you want to stay honest and make choices that are right. Believe in your true values and know that it's okay to be different. Choose for yourself, even if it means not always going with the crowd. Form 5. Spot the signs of too much praise. Know when flattery is used to get your trust and then use too much charm to control you. A shower of praise that seems harmless can be a very smart way to get what you want. Manipulation. It's like a tasty bait that hides a hook below. When someone compliments you all the time, it's easy to get caught up in the good vibes without. Once you know you're being set up for greater manipulation, this kind of manipulation is like giving us a magic wand that plays with our ego and our need to be liked and respected. The picture that shows us at our best is so alluring that we forget to look below the surface. But it's important to remember that when compliments are too much or don't match up with reality, there are probably deeper reasons for them, like keeping you from falling for the trap of too much praise. The first step is to have a healthy sense of self-worth and an honest look at your skills and weaknesses. You can judge the compliments you get more accurately if you know what your weaknesses are. It's like having an internal GPS that lets you know when you're on real land and when you've entered the realm of excess. It's also helpful to look at the situation and how often the comments, if they come from someone who wants something from you or happen with unusually often, there are probably secret reasons for it. It's like when someone offers you a room every time they need something, you start to wonder if they really like you or are just being nice. Want something from you? Keep a healthy emotional distance. If someone flatters you too much, kindly thank them, but don't let the praise get to you. It's like having an umbrella on a sunny day. It may not seem like you need to, but it's there. Protects you in case it starts to rain. Ask people you trust what they think. Sometimes looking at things from the outside can help you figure out if the compliments are real or just a way to trick you. Having a second set of eyes can help you see things you might not be able to see yourself. Tell the difference between sincere praise and lies. Sincere compliments are usually, if someone flatters you too much, it's more likely to be vague and unrelated to the situation. Over-the-top praise that doesn't belong can be a subtle but effective way to control someone by having a healthy self-esteem, judging prices closely, and keeping your emotions in check. You will keep you from being manipulated and your interactions honest and respectful of each other. Now that you're halfway through the movie, I want to praise you on your efforts to improve yourself. I humbly ask that you leave a review as well, as it really helps my channel. If you don't know what to say, just write mind over body to let me know you made it this far. Don't forget you can subscribe to get more posts like this. I've also included links to some books about Stoicism. That turned me into the man I am now and will do the same for you. Think about form number 6, recognizing isolationist strategies. Pay attention to situations in which someone tries to keep you from your friends, family, or isolating coworkers is a sneaky and effective way to control them. Strategy by cutting you off from your support networks like family and friends and coworkers. The deceiver makes you more weak and reliant, which makes it easier for them to control you. Like being on a deserted island by yourself with no one else around. The person who left you there. The key to spotting this trick is to pay attention. The manipulator might make small or big changes to the way you interact with other people. Start having doubts about the aims or loyalty of people in your relationships or friendships. It's as if every little crack in your relationships will look bigger if you put a magnifying glass over it until it turns into a pit. They may also use more direct methods, like they treat the people around you badly and want you to spend more time with them alone. It's like they're making a wall around you, brick by brick, that blocks your view and lets no one in. The outside world, to fight these strategies, it's important to keep your support systems and ties going, even if someone tries to persuade you not to. On the other hand, staying in touch with family and friends on a daily basis is like having lifelines that keep you alive. Connected to life and offer different points of view is another strategy, is to set and stick to clear limits if someone tries to control you. It's important to be strong about who you hang out with and how you spend your time. Make sure your borders are clear. Think of it as building for where you get to choose who comes in and out. You should also trust if you think there is something wrong with the way someone is affecting your. When it comes to relationships, that feeling is probably based on some truth. Our instincts are like an internal alarm system, meant to let us know when something is dangerous to our health. Finally, seek for outside help. If you feel like you're being left alone, talk to a counselor. Doctor, or even a trusted friend can help and give you new ideas. You reaffirm your reality by realizing that using isolation methods is important for keeping your mental health and independence. By using channels of contact and trusting your gut, you can keep yourself from being alone and manipulated. That your relationships are fair, healthy, and based on respect for each other. From the 7 alerts to ultimatums, you can tell when ultimatums are used to get you to decide quickly. Ultimatums are like standing on the edge of a cliff in manipulation. On the edge of a cliff, you feel like you have to make a choice that seems easy, but is actually very scary. A trickster will give you ultimatums to make you feel rushed and make a decision. Making choices under pressure, narrowing your choices to what they want. To use this strategy, you need to be aware of when choices are put in an extreme this way. If you loved me, you'd do this, and if you don't, then These comments are like red lights that mean the friendship will end. Someone is using force and pressure to try to control how you act. One important thing about ultimatums is that they often look sensible at first, but when you look more closely, they show that they don't respect your needs and limits. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. At first glance, it may look like nothing is wrong. But it's actually much more evil than that. To deal with ultimatums, it's taking a moment to breathe, and not giving in to the stress of the moment is important. You might feel like you need to decide right away, but remember that you almost always have more time than you think. Think of this as pausing a video game. You a moment to gather your thoughts and think about your choices as well. Think about what will happen if you choose each choice. Ultimatums are often used to make people. When you look at the long-term effects, one choice may seem much worse than the other. You might find a way that fits your values and needs better. It's like looking at a map before picking a route. Makes you see all the different paths and what might happen. Talking about your feelings is another way to help. And clear limits by saying how the ultimatum makes you feel, and by making it clear what you're willing and not willing to do, you can reaffirm your independence. Think of it as setting a seed, your feet firmly on the ground to show that the wind doesn't bother you. Finally, if you are constantly being given ultimatums in a relationship, it might be time to think about ending it. Threats or pressures to act in a certain way shouldn't be a part of a good, respectful relationship. Being aware of ultimatums and knowing how to handle them well is important to protect your freedom of choice and make sure your choices are based on what's best for you, not on what someone else is trying to force you to do. Stay calm, think about your choices, and set limits and be clear about them. These are important steps for handling the tricky waters of ultimatums are a way of recognizing blame. When someone is to blame, tries to control your actions or thoughts by making you feel bad. This is a subtle but effective way to control you. Tool like poison that slowly gets into your mind and makes you question yourself and the choices you've made to find blame. It's important to know when someone is trying to get someone else to take responsibility for their acts, or this method can be used to hurt your feelings and make you feel bad all the time. There are many ways to say this, like, you make me feel bad when you don't do what I ask, or if you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have responded this way. It's like having a skewed mirror that sees all of your actions as mistakes, or flaws to counter bloom. It's important to stand up for your own world. That what you think and feel is real. Don't let anyone change your story or make you feel guilty. For things you can't change, picture it as a shield that keeps you safe from the poisoned arrows of guilt. One good way to deal with guilt is to think about yourself before you blame others. Asking yourself if you are really to blame for what happened and if the claim is true is like a map before you go on a trip to make sure you're going in the right direction. Communication is also very important. Tell someone how you feel when does not deserve the blame and sets clear limits. For example, you could say, I know you're mad, but I'm not responsible for what you did. It's like putting a do not enter sign in the door. It's also important to surround yourself with things that make you feel good. A healthy and positive setting is like having people who are helpful and polite. Rocky ground that doesn't let your best grow instead of rich dirt that does. Nothing can grow in conclusion. Finding fault is important for keeping your mental and emotional health by spotting this strategy and speaking out against it. You can keep yourself from being influenced and make sure that your actions and thoughts are your own. Shadow of unfair guilt, keep your thoughts clear, set clear limits, and a healthy setting is needed to safely find your way through the labyrinth of blame forms. Number 9. Be aware of information overload and watch out for scenarios where you have too much knowledge, which is often hard to understand or complex. Too much knowledge is like a storm in your ability to make clear decisions. Think about being in the middle of a storm of numbers and facts. You might feel lost if this is going all around you in all ways. Overloaded and eventually unable to make smart, well-informed decisions. This method of manipulation involves giving you so much information that you can't see the big picture. These tricks are used by manipulators to throw you off balance and make you more open to their control. Demands are like being given a puzzle with too many parts and being told to put them all together. Give up and let them handle it. To stay safe in this information storm, the first thing you need to do is understand. Whenever you feel like you have too much information, please let us know. Take a moment to breathe when the amount of information is too much. It's like stopping a crazy movie in the middle to figure out what's going on. Then try to make the information easier to understand by breaking it up into smaller pieces. Doable parts. It's like taking apart a complicated engine part. By piece, making it easier to understand and use is another good method is to ask questions. Questions that clear up worries can clear away the fog of confusion. Don't be afraid to say, "I don't understand. Could you explain it another way?" It's the same as asking someone to turn on a flashlight in a dark room and ask other people for their views or advice. Talking to a neutral third party can help you see things from a new and objective point of view. Look at a map from above that gives you a good view of the area. Finally, trust your. If something seems too much or too complicated, it could mean that someone is trying to trick you, like an internal sensor that lets you know about possible dangers. Recognizing that knowledge overload is a key part of keeping your independence and ability to make decisions. By asking questions and getting help in a simple way, you can stay calm in the face of the storm of information and make choices that are truly yours. Remember that we live in a world where information is, your mind is your most important fortress form number, so protect it with power. 10 ways to tell if someone is topic shifting. If someone keeps switching issues, shifting the subject is like a magic trick in order to avoid duty or make you confused. A conversation. 1 minute you're talking about something important, and all of a sudden, the subject changes to something completely different, leaving you confused. Disoriented. This trick is used to take the focus off of touchy or embarrassing subjects. It's subtle but effective. A strong way to control someone, picture yourself on a clear path and all of a sudden finding yourself. In a maze of talks that lead nowhere, manipulators are experts. When they are questioned or put on the spot, they quickly change the subject to avoid taking blame. Or attention. It's like a dancer doing a fancy step to get away from something. Steps on dangerous ground to stay grounded in the middle of these conversations, loops and turns. The first thing you need to do is notice when it's happening. Take note of how the subject changes quickly and without a clear flow. Red flag. It's like waking up to find that the scenery has changed while you're traveling. When you notice a change in the subject, try to bring it back to the original subject. You could say something. "That's interesting, but I'd like to go back to what we were talking about before." It's like a ship's captain putting it back on its original path after a detour. Stay calm and firm. Make sure you don't get swept away by the flow of unimportant topics. It's like trying to keep your balance in strong winds. The topic change keeps going. You can directly question the goal or ask why. Are we changing the subject? It's like turning on a light in a dark room to see what's been hidden. Set clear limits in your conversations if you think they aren't helpful or are. If the conversation keeps going off track, it's okay to end it. It's like knowing, find out when to leave a game that isn't being played by the fair rules. Changing the subject is important for keeping conversation honest and open by noticing redirecting. By questioning these changes, you stand up for your right to a useful and respectful life. Conversation. Remember that keeping on topic is an important part of the art of conversation. As important as it is to know how to get around on this trip through the 10 ways to spot and deal with manipulation, we have looked at a number of strategies people use to try to affect our choices, feelings, and perceptions in an illegal way. From playing with people's emotions to changing the subject, each plan shows us how manipulators work and how to protect ourselves. To keep our independence and honesty, it's important to know that being aware of these strategies makes us stronger because we know they work. Ready to spot and fight attempts at trickery in our daily lives. In our lives, it's like having a guide that shows us the way through rough terrain. Manipulating safety can look different and happen in different places of our lives, whether it's in our daily lives, at work, or even in public. But with the right knowledge and skills, we can face these challenges head-on and keep our minds and feelings safe from harm. Influences. If any part of this message helped you, please like and share, which will help it was found that this video would help someone right now. So please subscribe to make sure you don't miss any new videos. You'll be able to find something to take with you if you watch the videos we've already put up. I've also included links to some Stoic books that helped me grow as a person. I am today and will also help you become calm. Now I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tell us which of these 10 ways to spot influence hit home with you the most. Have any of these strategies ever been used against you? If so, how? You've dealt with them, and what strategies have worked best for you? You're welcome to share your thoughts and stories in the comments. They will help other people too, not only to me, but also to other people who may be looking for help and advice. Can build a community of learning and support where people share their information and experiences to deal with trickery. See you there, brave one.